Did you know that God fought for Israel in the past by killing the Assyrian army with just one angel? Yes, 185,000 elite Assyrian soldiers were wiped out overnight while they slept outside Jerusalem, Isaiah 37:36. Not a sword was drawn by Israel, and during the reign of King Jehoshaphat, Israel was surrounded by three massive armies. But instead of preparing for war, Jehoshaphat prayed. And the moment the worshippers started singing, confusion broke out. The enemy armies turned on each other and completely destroyed themselves. 2 Chronicles 20. No battle, no human plan, just divine intervention. Time and time again, God has shown that when it comes to protecting Israel, He doesn't need numbers or weapons, He just needs a reason. And here's the shocking part. That same God is still fighting for Israel today, even in modern wars, with fighter jets, tanks, rockets, and cyber attacks. There are events that military experts still can't explain. Coincidences? Strategy? Or the hand of God? Today we're diving into 14 true moments in modern war history when something miraculous happened to defend Israel. And once you hear them, you'll understand why many believe God is still watching over His people. 1. Operation Rising Lion, Flawless Air and Drone Campaign. Miracle type, divine precision. In 2025, following Iran's massive missile attack on Israel, the world held its breath. Israel responded with Operation Rising Lion, a daring and high-risk counterattack deep inside Iranian territory. On paper, it should have been a disaster. Israel had to fly over 2,000 miles, past heavily guarded airspace, to strike nearly 900 military and nuclear-linked targets inside Iran, hundreds of sorties, over 1,100 drones, fighter jets, stealth units, and cyber teams moved in perfect harmony. But here's what no one expected. Not a single Israeli aircraft was lost. Not one drone failed. Not one pilot injured. The entire mission was executed with near supernatural precision, and even Western analysts said it was flawless beyond military logic. As one commander put it, everything could have gone wrong, but nothing did. Every system lined up, every window opened at the exact second we needed it. That's not just training, that's something higher. Even Israel's enemies were stunned by the silence and speed of the strikes. They never saw it coming until it was over. Some called it genius, others called it divine. But those who believe in Scripture were reminded of Exodus 14 verse 14. The Lord will fight for you, you need only to be still. And that's exactly what seemed to happen in Operation Rising Lion. Not just air superiority, heavenly precision. 2. The 1948 War of Independence. Bullets that should have hit, but didn't. Miracle-type divine protection. In 1948, the state of Israel was just one day old when it was attacked by 5 Arab nations: Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq. The Jewish people had almost no army, no air force, and no international support. Just newly returned refugees, some survivors of the Holocaust, holding outdated rifles and homemade weapons. One of the most famous miracles happened in a place called Gush Etzion. A group of Jewish fighters were surrounded and outnumbered 20-1. The Arabs were heavily armed. As they fought to the last bullet, some defenders reported that many of the enemy's bullets missed them entirely, even at point-blank range. In another location, a single Jewish soldier with a machine gun held off an entire Arab platoon by constantly changing positions. The enemy later claimed they thought they were facing an entire battalion. Was it just luck? Or was it like Psalm 91 said, 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but 3. Iranian missile barrages, unbroken defense shield. Miracle type, divine protection through technology. In 2024 and again in 2025, Iran launched what many called one of the largest direct attacks on Israel in modern history. Hundreds of ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones were fired toward Israeli cities, intended to paralyze the country, overwhelm its defenses, and cause mass casualties. But what happened instead stunned military observers around the world. Israel's multi-layered missile defense, Iron Dome, David's Sling, Arrow 2 and Arrow 3, intercepted nearly 90% of incoming threats. Think about that. Hundreds of deadly projectiles and barely a handful got through. Not only did these systems perform under extreme pressure, but many Israeli civilians reported last-minute changes in routes, delays, or alerts that kept them out of harm's way. One missile was headed toward a major apartment complex in Tel Aviv. Seconds before impact, a sudden shift in trajectory sent it crashing into an open lot instead. Another drone, guided by Iranian GPS, lost control mid-flight and landed harmlessly in a desert zone. Military experts called the performance near hermetic, almost too perfect, too coordinated, too fast. Even the United States called it one of the most successful missile defenses ever recorded. But for many in Israel, it was more than technology. It was the fulfillment of Isaiah 54:17, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." Because when 600 missiles rain from the sky and barely any reach their targets, you have to ask, is that just engineering or divine shielding? 1948, mysterious Egyptian retreat. Miracle type, divine confusion. At the southern front, Egyptian forces were advancing on Tel Aviv. The Jewish defenders had no tanks, only a few armored vehicles. But suddenly, the Egyptians stopped, turned around, and retreated. Later, a captured Egyptian officer confessed, "We saw legions of white-clad soldiers descending from the hills. We thought they were angels." Multiple Arab soldiers described seeing a supernatural army protecting the Jews. No explanation, just fear and retreat. 5. The 1967 Six-Day War. The lightning strike victory. Miracle type, divine speed. In June 1967, Israel faced annihilation. Egypt, Syria, and Jordan had surrounded her with over 500,000 troops, 900 tanks, and 450 aircraft. But in just 6 days, Israel crushed them all. Here's the miracle. On the first morning, Israel launched Operation Focus, a surprise airstrike. In just 3 hours, they destroyed almost the entire Egyptian Air Force, while their planes were still on the ground. How? Egypt had mysteriously disabled their radar systems for 2 full hours, during the exact time Israel attacked. A training mistake, they said. But Israel's survival depended on that exact window. Isaiah 31:5 says, "Like birds hovering overhead, the Lord Almighty will shield Jerusalem. He will shield it and deliver it." 6. Soroka Medical Center evacuation. The missile that arrived too late. Miracle type, divine timing. In June 2025, during one of Iran's most aggressive missile campaigns, Israel's Soroka Medical Center in Be'er Sheva, one of the country's largest and busiest hospitals, was targeted by a Sigil missile, a long-range ballistic weapon capable of mass destruction. The missile struck the surgical wing of the hospital with terrifying force. Walls collapsed. Glass shattered. Equipment was ruined. But here's the miracle. No one was there. Just hours before the strike, Soroka's management had mysteriously ordered the evacuation of the surgical department, without knowing a missile was headed their way. Doctors and nurses had relocated patients to a different part of the hospital due to what they described as a precautionary reorganization. That last-minute decision saved dozens of lives. One nurse told Israeli News, "If we had waited even 30 more minutes, we would have been in that room, with patients on the table." Even more shocking, the missile didn't detonate properly. It caused structural damage, but not a single person was killed. Rabbi Aryeh Kaltman later said, "This wasn't luck. This was heaven's hand turning disaster into deliverance." Just like in Exodus 12, when God told the Israelites to stay inside their homes on the night the angel passed over, he knew what was coming, and he moved to protect. To many Israelis, this moment wasn't just a narrow escape. It was a loud reminder. God still directs steps, moves people, and shields life, down to the very minute. 7. Yom Kippur War, outnumbered but not outpowered 1973. Miracle type, divine strength. In 1973, Israel was caught off guard on its holiest day, Yom Kippur. Syria and Egypt launched a coordinated attack, backed by the USSR. The Israeli front lines collapsed in hours. The situation was so bad, Prime Minister Golda Meir considered using nuclear weapons. But something shifted. Israeli reservists, most of them fasting and praying, flooded to the front. In one famous battle in the Sinai, Israeli tanks were outnumbered 12-1. But the Egyptian tanks began malfunctioning. Crews abandoned them. In the north, Israeli pilots performed aerial maneuvers that top U.S. generals later said were impossible under natural conditions. By the end of the war, Israel had crossed the Suez Canal and was within 100 kilometers of Cairo. Outnumbered, outgunned, but not out of God's hands. 8. Missile failures and mysterious malfunctions. Miracle type, divine disruption. During the 2024 and 2025 Iranian missile attacks, Hundreds of advanced ballistic and cruise missiles were fired at Israeli targets. On paper, these missiles were deadly, accurate, and unstoppable, designed to evade radar, strike deep, and cause maximum chaos. But something strange happened. Dozens of Iranian missiles malfunctioned in midair. Some exploded before reaching Israeli airspace, others veered off course entirely. A few even crashed harmlessly into open fields, despite being guided by advanced satellite navigation. In one case, a long-range Sejal missile that was expected to hit a military base in the Negev simply disappeared from radar. To this day, no wreckage has been found. Israeli defense analysts were baffled. The malfunction rate was far above normal, even for mass-scale launches. Some experts blamed faulty programming. Others pointed to weather anomalies, but many in Israel believed otherwise. One IDF official remarked, "We saw things no system should have been able to stop." Some of these failures were just unnatural. Psalm 33:10 comes to mind. "The Lord foils the plans of the nations. He thwarts the purposes of the peoples." Because when missiles break apart in the sky, when smart weapons lose their way, when destruction turns to dust in the wind, it no longer looks like defense, it looks like divine interference. 9. The Valley of Tears, 1973, Yom Kippur War. Miracle type, divine delay. In the Golan Heights, a tiny group of Israeli tank operators, just 44 tanks, stood against over 500 Syrian tanks. It's known today as the Valley of Tears. For 4 days they held the line, without sleep, fuel, or reinforcements. And then the Syrians suddenly stopped advancing. Why? Captured Syrian officers said they believed they were heading into a trap. Some said they saw phantom tanks on the ridge. Others said they heard radio chatter that sounded like thousands of Israeli reinforcements were coming. But there were none. What they heard never existed. 10. First Gulf War 1991, 39 Scud missiles, 0 Israeli deaths. Miracle type, divine shield. During the First Gulf War, Iraq launched 39 Scud missiles into Israel. These missiles hit buildings, neighborhoods, and even schools. But here's the miracle. Not one Israeli died. Despite the destruction, not a single direct death occurred from all 39 missiles. How? Some missiles misfired, some disappeared midair, others hit empty areas, minutes after people left. Newspapers in Israel called it a protective hand from heaven. 11. 2006 Lebanon War. The missiles that didn't detonate. Miracle type, divine malfunction. Hezbollah launched thousands of rockets into northern Israel. One landed directly in the middle of a children's daycare center in Haifa. It went through the roof, through the floor, and did not explode. Another hit a synagogue full of people praying, but only after they had just stepped out. Later analysis showed more than 20% of Hezbollah's rockets were defective, far higher than normal. Many asked, why didn't they explode? Maybe they weren't allowed to. 12. Iron Dome in the Path of the Wind, 2014. Miracle type, divine control of nature. In 2014, during Operation Protective Edge, Hamas launched over 4,500 rockets into Israel. One day, a rocket was headed directly for a major city. The Iron Dome defense system failed to intercept it. But just before impact, a sudden gust of wind shifted the rocket's path. It crashed into an open field. An Israeli officer told reporters, "We couldn't stop it, but God did." 2014 Gaza conflict, the missile that vanished from radar. Miracle type, vanishing threat. During Operation Protective Edge, Hamas launched a long-range rocket targeting Ben Gurion Airport, Israel's main international hub. The Iron Dome missed it. Panic erupted. A direct hit could kill hundreds and shut down air travel for days. But here's the miracle. The rocket vanished. Literally, mid-flight. Radar picked it up, then lost it. It didn't explode. It didn't fall into the sea. It just disappeared. Israeli defense personnel were stunned. So were international observers. To this day, the rocket was never found. Did it burn up? Get redirected? Or did God reach out and take it? 14. 2012 Operation Pillar of Defense, the Empty House. Miracle type, divine timing. In 2012, a Hamas rocket slammed into a residential building in Kiryat Malachi. The top floors were completely destroyed. But inside the building, something odd had just happened. A Torah class scheduled that morning had been mysteriously canceled just 30 minutes before the strike. Over 30 people were supposed to be in that room, but no one was. Not a single death. Many who lived in the building later said, it wasn't luck. Someone canceled that meeting because God didn't want us there. 15. 2021 Gaza conflict, the rocket that froze midair. Miracle type, supernatural interruption. In May 2021, Israel was under heavy rocket fire from Gaza. Thousands of rockets were launched over 11 days. But one rocket caught on video did something bizarre. It flew upward, stopped midair, and hovered for several seconds. Then it began spinning and crashed harmlessly into a field. Experts called it a technical failure, but footage showed no explosion, no Iron Dome, and no damage. Just a missile that stopped flying, as if something invisible held it in the sky and dropped it safely. 16. The Angel in Southern Israel, 2021. Miracle type, supernatural encounter. This one wasn't caught on radar, but it's one of the most emotional testimonies from recent years. During the 2021 Gaza conflict, a group of Israeli soldiers was stationed near the southern border. Constant sirens, rocket fire, and sleepless nights had worn them down. One night, a soldier named Eli shared what happened. "We were all on edge, exhausted and scared. I looked up and I saw a man, tall, glowing, standing right behind our Jeep. I thought it was a trick of the light, but others saw it too. They reported it to their commander, but no one else was near. The next day, a rocket landed exactly where they had been parked, but they had moved the Jeep just 5 minutes earlier." Eli said, "I believe it was an angel. I'm not the kind of guy who sees stuff like that, but I'll never forget it." So what does all of this mean? Is Israel just lucky? Are these military secrets? Random chances? Or maybe something divine? The Bible says in Zechariah 2:8, "Whoever touches Israel touches the apple of God's eye." That promise didn't expire in ancient times. It still stands. God hasn't changed. And despite being outnumbered, outgunned, and surrounded by enemies again and again, Israel is still here. From angelic visions, to rockets that miss their mark, to tanks that turn back for no reason, these 17 events cannot be explained by logic alone. Because Israel's strongest ally isn't a country, it's God himself. If you believe God still fights for Israel, share this video with someone who needs to know that miracles still happen. Like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe for more spiritual truths, historical facts, and faith-based insights that the mainstream often ignores. Let us know in the comments, which of these miracles touched you the most? And remember what Psalm 121 says, "He who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep." He's still awake, he's still protecting, and he's not done yet.